for me personally, I was it was an uncomfortable almost 2 hours, sitting and watching film about yourself. It's weird. It's weird. Until you experience it, you won't know what I'm talking about. But I just felt like such a big head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Self-indulgent, talking about me. But, I guess that's, the idea of a documentary. But yeah, everyone really, really liked it. I was happy with the film. I thought it came out great. Tremendous support. Yeah, and everyone really enjoyed it.
Having spoken to you previously, you're quite a modest guy. I remember when we chatted about Conor McGregor's watch and how you find it uneasy sometimes wearing Rolexes and expensive watches.
As I'm wearing a Rolex right now. What a knobhead.
Yeah. So the idea of then you sitting in front of your, a packed out, premiere, walking your own red carpet. When you look back at when you used to have a job in the slaughterhouse, for instance, and seeing how far you've come now, it must be like another world for you.
Yeah, it's mental. Sometimes if I actually, sit back and look at it, and think like that, it's crazy. It's crazy. It really is. But then at the same time, it's not. Do you know what I mean? I just kind of became a fighter, and then everything keeps, one thing leads to another, But, when I started doing this, I wanted to earn enough money just to go back to college and do a course and be a plasterer or a bricklayer or something, So it far outweighed all those expectations. But obviously, I'm very happy it turned out that way. But yeah, it's been a crazy ride.
That's interesting. In terms of your legacy now, how do you look back at your career?
In terms of, I always struggle answering these type of questions, because I don't sit around and think about my legacy. Not that I'm trying to pass myself off as some kind of idiot, but I don't sit around thinking about my past achievements and what everyone's going to think of me. And, I wonder what my legacy is. I don't. I just live very much in the moment. And, what am I doing next? In terms of my legacy, though, if I do look back and do that, I guess it would be a story of perseverance, not giving up. I guess my book's got the perfect title, Quitters Never Win, and it's true, and you just can't give up on yourself. I've just started saying this recently. If you give up on yourself, then you're done. Because once you give up on yourself, no one else is going to believe in you, And if you give up on yourself, then it's over, And I never stopped believing in myself. I had a supportive wife that believed in me as well, And throughout one setback or another, I didn't care. I was still just trying to just look after my family, and it's nothing special. It's nothing special. Do you know what I mean? It really isn't. That's what men are supposed to do. That's what the head of the household is supposed to do. And my living was that of a fighter. Just like I might have been a fireman or a policeman or a journalist, whatever. Just doing my fucking job. It's nothing special. Do you know what I mean? But turns out a few people appreciated it.
That's interesting, because it does kind of lead on to my next question in terms of, it's interesting to hear you say that, just providing for your family and being, a kind of old-fashioned. I know Rogan brought up that, to an extent, your values are old-fashioned, but you could quite easily say, I'm the most important thing to me is being a trailblazer for MMA, because you were one of the very first global MMA stars, and you're still the first Brit only Brit to win a UFC title. You could identify yourself more with those, couldn't you, really?
Yeah. You said something there. I don't see myself as a trailblazer or a pioneer. I really don't. And in fact, last night, Adam Cattrall did a Q&A with the audience, and that was one of the questions that he talked about. And I said, no, I said, there was people came before me. You know what I mean? And there's people obviously come after me as well. So I don't see myself like that. Now, of course, I do recognize that at that time, it wasn't necessarily a career path that was carved out that you could choose and go after. And it wasn't necessarily defined like that. You could say, oh, look, you can, if you're good at martial arts or you have a certain propensity for fighting, you can have a career in the UFC. That didn't exist, so I guess in that regard, I see what you're saying. But yeah, if you have those conversations about yourself, you're going down a very stupid path. That's what guys like you to very kindly say. You know what I mean? But I never sit around and think, oh, I was the pioneer. I was the trailblazer. I was the only champ. And soon after that, but yeah, you were a dickhead. Do you know what I mean?
Do you get a little bit embarrassed when people praise you like that?
I always have a problem taking a compliment, to be honest. I was talking to John Anik about this the other day. We were sitting at the bar with being commentating. We were just having a cheeky one before we went to bed. And we were just chatting away. And he says, yeah, because you struggle to take a compliment, don't you, Mike? I said, why do you say that? And he wasn't being confrontational. We were having a nice conversation, actually having a proper conversation as opposed to the usual bullshit small talk. You know what I mean? I said, yeah. John, I said, I do. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't know why that is. I've always been that way. I don't take them well. In fact, if anything, if someone continues to give me a compliment, I start thinking that they're actually making fun of me, and I think they're being sarcastic. Do you know what I mean? And that's weird. So yeah. So for that reason, when people start saying nice things about me like that, I just, yeah, it makes me a little uncomfortable.
What would you say has been the best piece of advice you've ever received? From looking back a lot across the years.
Yeah, best piece of advice. I mean, that's a tough one. It's a tough one. One that springs to mind is that I was going through a bit of trouble at the time. I was fighting, but I had a lot on my plate, and I had a lot of trouble, and I'd furthered that trouble by saying some words I shouldn't have said, right? And without going into details. And I remember I called up my mate, and he wasn't a piece of advice, he just something he said to me. My mate Blanky, I was going on, I was fucking beating myself. I'm like, me and my fucking mouth, I don't believe this. Why did I fucking say that? Me and my mouth, I don't believe this. And he's like, and it wasn't just my mouth, it was like my bravado and my cockiness. I was in, having some trouble with some fucking wannabe gangster dickheads, but they were serious people, do you know what I mean? They were talking about murdering people and whatnot, I was like, shh. But I could never back down. I'm not going to be talked down to and whatnot, do you know what I mean? So I always find my corner. But now I was potentially in a bit of shit, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh crap, this could come, on top. And he's like, no, Mike, no, don't apologize for that. He said, the fact that you said that, the fact that you stood up to him is the reason why you're in that position that you're in now. He said, that's who you are. He said, just don't beat yourself up for that. That's who you are. Own that. Be proud of it. And I was like, do you know what? You're absolutely fucking right. Let me call him back.
That's brilliant. It's well established that you essentially, and it's something you've spoken recently about to Rogan and on your own podcast as well, about fighting GSP essentially with one eye. Would you mind going back over like some of the difficulties ahead of that fight, like getting medically certified for it, and just how much it took out of you?
Yeah. I mean, I actually, where to start with that? I mean, there's many stories and anecdotes I could give you, but one that's never been told before was that I was actually on holiday in Maui with my wife and kids, and one of the things, because I had glaucoma, you probably know this is a prosthetic lens, right? So it's fake, but I only got this in 2018. So before I had that, I used to have a drain in the corner of my eye, like a plastic drain, which would drain the fluid out of my eye. And that's what stopped me having glaucoma and stopped the pain. And I thought, I cannot rock up to fucking Madison Square Garden with the New York State Athletic Commission, who are incredibly hard to get by. Do you know what I mean? I was already lying and pulling the wool off everyone's eyes, but with a massive plastic drain in the corner of my eye, it's going to be even harder. Do you know what I mean? So I cut my holiday short. Well, my wife and kids, they stayed in Hawaii. They came back a couple of days later, but I flew out early. And I had an operation to have that drain removed from my eye, even though they said it might not be a good idea because the glaucoma could come back. I'm like, well, let's run the dice. Roll the dice, because I was sick of how that looked anyway, having this weird piece of plastic sticking out the corner of my eye. But I'm like, if I'm going to get cleared, if I am going to make it to the fight, I need to give myself every best possible chance. So yeah, I mean, I went even to the extent of having another surgery.
It's nuts when you think about it. Like, I wanted to ask, like, you're an incredibly proud guy, and I'm sure this is probably a bit of a stupid question for you, but do you have any kind of career regrets? Any fights you wish you hadn't taken on due to the impact it had on you physically, or opportunities you actually wish you'd taken up looking back?
Yeah, not particularly. You can't live your life like that. I don't really have too many regrets. I was very lucky. I had a great career. That last one against Gastelum probably wasn't the best idea in hindsight. But again, it It was, because I got paid very well for that. And that was my reason for getting into this in the first place. It was purely financially motivated. You know what I mean? So that is why I got into this. And that was the last fight of my career. And I was paid well for it as well. So, yeah, I regret that. I shouldn't have taken it. But the motivation for doing it remained the same and remained intact throughout my entire career. In terms of fights I wish I had, not really. No, I don't have any, like, what's the words I'm looking for? I don't have any thoughts where I'm like, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, I wish I explored this, I wish I fought that guy. I pretty much did it all and fought most guys in my era, you know, so yeah.
One final question. I know it's maybe a bit cheeky. Is there, listening to you talking to Rogan the other day about, you know, potentially going into like a jiu-jitsu competition, is there anything that would persuade you or tempt you to come out of retirement at all?
Yeah, no, I would. If it wasn't for my eye, I'd probably still be fighting. But again, I'm glad, because that's a blessing in disguise, because you can't fight forever, you know, and it's painful. It hurts, you know what I mean? I don't mean it hurts. I mean, going through a training camp is so rigorous. It takes its toll on the body, so I do not miss that. But, you know, I'm still a fighter deep down inside. You know what I'm saying? I'm 43. I've got a bit of a few grey beard hairs and whatnot, you know what I mean? I might have put on a couple of pounds, but I'm still the same guy, you know. And if I could get cleared for one of these, you know, easy paydays against some fucking YouTuber or whatnot, I've got no desires on legit coming back and trying to be a champion or anything. No, but I do a little exhibition match. I do, yeah, an exhibition match just for fun, and it'd be a reason to get me in shape. You know what I mean? But in terms of jiu-jitsu, as I was talking about there, I'm not sure if I could do that because of my knees, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I still work out every day, and just having a reason, you know, to work out. You know, because I mean, I enjoy running, I enjoy lifting weights, but it's not quite the same when you're training for an actual event, a sporting event, a competition, a race, a fight. You know, it just makes it way more enjoyable.